I was wiping down the espresso machine at the end of my shift when I overheard my girlfriend's voice carrying from the corner booth. The cafe was mostly empty, just a couple of regulars nursing their drinks. But Sophia was there with her usual group of coworkers from the marketing firm. I'd been dating her for almost 2 years, and I knew that bright, animated tone she used when she wanted everyone to listen. I paused with the rag in my hand, listening without turning around. Honestly, she was saying, Ethan surprises me with little weekend getaways all the time. Last month, he booked this adorable cabin just because I mentioned wanting to see the fall leaves. My work husband is seriously better at romance than my actual boyfriend ever manages to be. The table erupted in laughter. That sharp, knowing kind that stings when it's aimed at you. My name had just been dropped, and the he was clearly me. I stood there, staring at the steam wand, feeling something cold settle in my chest. It wasn't shock. It was recognition. For months, I'd felt uneasy about Ethan, her self-proclaimed work husband. They shared an office pod, collaborated on every big project, and texted constantly. Whenever I expressed discomfort, I was labeled insecure, possessive, outdated. Hearing her say it out loud to her friends, hearing them laugh in agreement, crystallized everything. I wasn't crazy. I was just the only one pretending this was normal. That I finished closing up without a word, locked the front door, and walked home alone. Sophia had said she'd meet me later after grabbing drinks with the team. I didn't wait up. The next morning I woke up calm. Not angry, not devastated, just clear. She wanted the best of both worlds. The reliable boyfriend who paid his share of rent and handled the practical stuff, and the charming coworker who showered her with attention and spontaneous gestures. Fine. I'd stop standing in the way. Over the following weeks, I transformed into the most easygoing partner imaginable. When she mentioned staying late at the office with Ethan to finish a pitch, I smiled and told her to take her time. When her phone lit up with his name during dinner, I encouraged her to answer. Don't want to keep your favorite collaborator waiting, I'd say lightly. She looked surprised at first, then relieved, then almost giddy with the freedom. Ethan started showing up more often in our lives. He dropped by the apartment unannounced with takeout because Sophia mentioned she was craving Thai. He'd linger after their group happy hours, crashing on our couch to sober up before driving home. I greeted him warmly every time, offered him a beer, then excused myself to the spare room to read or work on my laptop. From there I could hear them, her delighted laughter, his teasing comments, the comfortable rhythm of two people who spent 40+ hours a week together. I began keeping track. Quietly, in a private note on my phone, I logged the tangible things I contributed. Rent, utilities, streaming services, groceries, the car payment, the emergency vet bill when her cat got sick. Next to it, I listed Ethan's contributions. A bouquet of grocery store flowers once, a playlist he made for her commute, the occasional coffee run. The contrast was stark. Our friends were planning their annual New Year's Eve cabin trip. 3 nights in a big rented house upstate. Same group every year since college. It was the social highlight, the one weekend everyone cleared their calendars for. Perfect stage. A couple of weeks before the trip, Sophia mentioned she wasn't sure what to wear for the themed party on the second night. The theme was old Hollywood glamour. I suggested we could coordinate, maybe go as a classic on-screen couple. She hesitated, biting her lip. Actually, she said carefully, Ethan and I were joking about doing Bonnie and Clyde, because we're always partners in crime at work. Instead of frowning, I laughed. That's perfect. You two would totally pull it off. I'll figure something out on my own. No big deal. Her shoulders relaxed visibly. She thought she'd dodged an argument. In reality, I just handed her exactly what she needed. Permission to publicly pair off with him for an entire weekend, while I played the understanding boyfriend. I reached out privately to Mia. one of the trip organizers and a close mutual friend. I told her I was planning to propose to Sophia on New Year's Eve, right at midnight. I asked if she could make sure someone with a good camera was ready to capture it. Maybe her cousin who did photography as a side gig. Mia was thrilled, swore secrecy, and promised everything would be arranged. There was no ring. There would be no proposal. But there would be witnesses and a camera. The drive up to the cabin was pleasant enough. Sophia chattered excitedly about the weekend while Ethan rode in the back seat. He'd hitched a ride with us since his car was in the shop. I kept the conversation light, made sure everyone was comfortable. We arrived Friday afternoon. The house was gorgeous. Big stone fireplace, wraparound porch, snow dusting the pines. Everyone claimed rooms, unpacked, started drinking hot toddies. Sophia and Ethan immediately gravitated toward each other, planning their costumes, running lines from the movie for laughs. I helped carry firewood, mixed drinks for the group, and gave them space. Saturday was relaxed, sledding, board games, a big chilly dinner. By evening, everyone was getting ready for the old Hollywood party. Sophia emerged in a slinky red dress, hair in victory rolls, fake cigarette holder in hand. Perfect Bonnie. Ethan wore a pinstripe suit and fedora, twirling a toy Tommy gun. They looked like they'd stepped off a movie poster together. I'd gone simple. White dinner jacket, black bow tie, classic James Bond vibe. Neutral, unpartnered. The party kicked off around 9. Music, cocktails, dancing in the living room. I made sure Ethan's glass never stayed empty long. I'd swing by with a fresh old-fashioned, clink glasses with him, joke about needing to keep up with the out-of-towners. He ate it up, thought we were finally bonding. By 11:30 he was loud, flushed, telling animated stories to clusters of people with Sophia hanging on his every word. She was glowing, basking in the shared spotlight. I noticed Mia give me a subtle thumbs up from across the room. Her cousin was circulating with a professional-looking camera, taking candid shots. Everything was in place. I positioned myself near the fireplace, chatting with a few friends, back partially turned to the main dance area. I laughed at the right moments, kept my posture relaxed, appearing fully occupied. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan pull Sophia closer during a slow song. She didn't resist. He murmured something that made her laugh, then dipped his head. The kiss wasn't subtle. It was deliberate, lingering, his hand sliding to the small of her back. Right there in the middle of the room, under the fairy lights, with the countdown to midnight still half an hour away. The camera flashed multiple times. A few people nearby gasped. Conversation dipped. Sophia jerked back first, eyes wide, hand flying to her mouth. Ethan looked dazed, triumphant for a split second before confusion set in. She spun around, searching the crowd until she spotted me. I was still facing my friends, drink in hand, seemingly oblivious. Her expression shifted from shock to fury. She thought I'd missed the whole thing. She marched over, heels clicking on the hardwood. "Did you see that?" she demanded in a harsh whisper. Grabbing my elbow, I turned slowly, brow furrowed. "See what?" "Ethan, he just kissed me. In front of everyone." I glanced over her shoulder. Ethan was being steered toward the kitchen by another guy, looking sheepish. I turned back to her. "Wow, that's bold. He's pretty drunk." "Huh. You weren't even watching. You left me alone with him all night." I kept my voice steady. "I was giving you space to enjoy your costume partner. You two looked great together. I didn't want to hover and ruin the fun." Her mouth opened, closed. She had nothing. The very excuses she'd used on me for months were now turned back on her, and they fit perfectly. She tried to pull me toward the hallway for privacy, but I gently extracted my arm. "I'm good here," I said calmly. "It's almost midnight. I don't want to miss the countdown with everyone." Her face crumpled. She stormed upstairs alone, red dress swishing. I stayed. When midnight hit, I toasted with the group, kissed a few cheeks platonically, accepted Happy New Year hugs. People kept asking if I was okay. I just smiled and said, "Looks like Sophia and Ethan have some complicated feelings to sort out. Not my circus anymore." The photos started circulating the next morning. Mia's cousin had posted a highlight reel to the group chat. Beautiful shots of the party, the costumes, the countdown. Included were 3 crystal clear images of the kiss. The lean in, the moment of contact, Sophia's horrified push-back. By the time we packed the cars on Sunday, the vibe had shifted completely. Ethan rode home with someone else. Sophia sat in stony silence the whole drive. That night back in the apartment, she tried everything. First, blame. Ethan had assaulted her, taken advantage, ruined everything. Then deflection. I'd abandoned her, encouraged the drinking, set her up. I let her talk until she ran out of words. Then I spoke. "I heard you at the cafe a few weeks before the trip," I said quietly. "Telling your friends that your work husband treats you better, more romantically, than I ever do." They all laughed. I decided to stop fighting it. I gave you exactly what you claimed to want. No jealousy, no restrictions, all the time with him you could handle. Now you've seen the full picture. She went pale. I continued. The proposal story I told Mia? Fake. But it guaranteed someone with a camera would be watching when he finally made his move. And he did. In front of 30 witnesses. I placed the lease renewal notice on the kitchen island. Lease ends in 8 weeks. I've already secured a studio downtown. Just for me. You'll need to figure out your next move. Maybe Ethan has a couch available. She whispered, "You orchestrated all of this." "No," I corrected. "You spent months cultivating a backup plan while keeping me on the hook for stability. I simply removed the safety net and let gravity do the rest." I went to bed. She slept on the couch that night and many nights after. The remaining weeks were a masterclass in consequences. She cycled through denial, acting like we could still salvage things. Anger, accusing me of cold-blooded manipulation. Bargaining, long apologies, promises of therapy and total transparency. I remained polite but distant, short answers, no arguments, no emotional fuel. Friends reached out. Several apologized for not seeing how inappropriate the work-husband dynamic had become. A few distanced themselves from her. Ethan went radio silent. Blocked her, took a sudden opportunity in another office branch across the state. When moving day came, I'd already arranged for my things to go to the new place. She watched from the window as the movers loaded my boxes. Her own belongings were half-packed. She'd eventually move into a shared house with strangers from an online ad. Nowhere near the lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to. On my last trip out the door, she asked softly if there was any chance we could try again someday. "No," I said, not unkindly. "You chose the fantasy over the reality a long time ago. The fantasy just turned out to be hollow. I've been in my new studio for 2 months now. It's a small, quiet mine. The cafe job is steady, and I've started taking night classes in business management. Something I'd put off while supporting our shared life. Friends who always quietly disliked the way she treated me have re-entered my orbit. Weekends are for hiking, reading, seeing bands, simple pleasures I'd forgotten I loved. Word trickles back occasionally. Sophia's struggling, new roommates, longer commute. No more spontaneous getaways or thoughtful playlists from an adoring coworker. She tells people one drunken mistake destroyed everything, never mentioning the months of emotional sidelines she kept me on. The sweetest part isn't the fallout. It's the freedom. I didn't beg, didn't rage, didn't try to force her to value me. I simply stepped aside and let her choices speak for themselves. They spoke loudly, and everyone heard.